To the few of you who are still praying, please take your time and finish at your own pace. I love the first day of Rosh Hashanah. It feels like both the first game of the season and the last game of the season at the same time. The energy in the room, the smiles and excitement of everyone coming together. I even love that I have to tell you to please be quiet because you love each other so much. And you are talking to each other, and that is beautiful too. In fact, I love it so much that feeling got me to thinking about the other places and times that I love. And one of them is the beach. Where we are not, if you're wondering. Sorry, Paul. I don't know where you went, but sorry that we're not at the beach. But everybody loves the beach. It's one of my favorite things about the beach. Even people who say they don't like the beach, when you drag them to the beach and they get there, they're like, this is very nice. And I had an experience in my life that I suspect is similar to many, if not almost everyone in this room, which is my grandparents moved to Delray and then to Boynton, which means that in December I went to visit in Florida and I went to the beach on Delray. Here's my secret. I have not traveled the world, but I have yet to meet a beach I love more than Delray Beach. I'm not working on their marketing, just so you know. And I have this vivid memory, I must have been 7 or 8 years old, of one particular pristine, perfect day in which I was building the best sandcastle in the history of sandcastles. It was tall, it had a turret, I built a road to a second sandcastle, and as I'm building it, I look around and I see that the water is coming up. I don't know that I had any concept of high or low tide, but I saw my sandcastle and the ocean. So I said, okay, I'm going to protect my perfect sandcastle, and I dug a trough, and I built a wall and a moat. And then I said, wait, that's not enough, and I built 7 walls and 7 moats. Thank you for whoever just cheered, I appreciate that. And at the end of the 7th wall, my parents said, it's time to go. It was 3 o'clock, so it was time for dinner. Thank you. Okay, all right. And we left, and 2 things happened. The first is, I didn't actually finish my sandcastle. I had bigger visions, and instead I spent my time building 7 walls and 7 moats. And the second is, we came back to the same spot the next day, the exact same spot, I am sure of it. And you all know exactly where this story is going. The ocean won. The sandcastle was gone. It looked as if nothing had happened in my special spot. So here's the thing. For us right now, the ocean is anti-Semitism. The waters are rising. And we are rapidly, as fast as we can, building our walls. When I went to rabbinical school, at no point did they teach me the difference between different kinds of bulletproofing you can put on a window. I now know there's no such thing as bulletproof. There's only gradations of how protected you can be. I am proud to say that our security team and our staff have gotten hundreds of thousands of dollars in federal and state grants to protect our building. As we speak, more than a dozen congregants are patrolling the building with earpieces in. If Josh Friesel doesn't get to tackle somebody soon, there's going to be a problem. And that doesn't even mention the more than a dozen security guards, all of whom are former law enforcement, who protect us to this day. It is truly amazing how safe we are, and yet, almost every week, me, the office, Paul, get a phone call from someone who has dreamed up a new doomsday scenario. Well, you have the gate and you have this, but what if? And whatever comes next is the foulest nightmare that has woken usually that parent up in the middle of the night. And here's the thing. We can be safer, but I cannot tell you we are safe. There is no such thing as safe. And you knew that already because you know we're mortal. You knew that there are times when you're going to be hurt, when things are going to happen. But since the attack on Pittsburgh, we are proven again and again that not only are we not safe as humans, we're not safe as Jews. So the question is, how do we face the moment? I wish with everything I had I could tell you, here's what you do and you'll never have to worry again, but that is false. Instead, I want to suggest 3 ways, 3 approaches to face a world in which, because we are Jewish, we are not safe. The first is, don't feel safe. It sounds simple. In fact, most of the time my job is to tell you everything is okay. Each of those, it's often usually the moms, I'm not going to lie, who call with their scenarios, we calm them down and say all the ways in which we are safer. But the truth is, to face the world, the first thing we have to do is not think we are safe. There was this moment after October 7th when Jews were taking mezuzahs off their doors. We pulled them off and people were hiding their Magen David. They were taking off their kippot. And we leaders stood up and said, you can't do that. You have to be proud to be Jewish. And I still think that's true, except there was a quiet part we didn't say out loud. The quiet part was, you might actually get hurt. Something might happen to your house because someone sees a mezuzah on it. I can tell you story after story. A colleague whose windows were smashed on her car outside her home when she woke up in the morning. Her house is next to the synagogue. They have a big "We Love Israel" sign. Was it vandalism or anti-Semitism? She'll never know. But perhaps those signs, perhaps her location and her vocation drove it there. Here is the good news. Here's the secret that intuitively we know, but I really want to make explicit. We Jews are actually quite good at not being safe. The very first person to call us a people, not a family, not the children of Abraham or the children of Jacob, the first person to say the Hebrew people was Pharaoh. Pharaoh said, I'm afraid of those people. They're too numerous. We should oppress them. And do you know what didn't happen? We didn't go away. Time after time, pharaohs have risen up and said, those people, we will fight against them. We will oppress them. We will lessen them. And each time, we, the Jewish people, have found a way to still be proud, to still exist, to put one foot in front of the other. I can show you prayers that were written in the basements of synagogues while rabbis hid with their congregation in the Crusades, hoping the Crusaders wouldn't think to check there. I can show you statues that are of Mother Mary, but hidden in the feet are a mezuzah, so the Jew can kiss the feet and still be proud of their Jewishness while hiding from the Inquisition. The Aleinu prayer. It's like every bar mitzvah kid's favorite moment. They're like, hey, I know that one. It started actually on the High Holy Days. Began in this service and was reserved just for this day, but it became popular. It joined every service when, in the 1100s in France, Jews were being burned at the stake for being Jews, and they sang the words of Aleinu as they walked to the pyre. Other Jews heard that and were so inspired, it became part of every single service of every single Jewish community every time we pray, as a way of saying, yes, we aren't safe, and yet we are still Jewish and we are strong. It tells us exactly what we need to do. I cannot protect you from everything, but I can tell you that together we are stronger. I can tell you that when we decide to be Jewish and proud anyways, we create the possibility of another generation that's even safer than the last. We create the possibility not of invincibility, but of life, of thriving, of showing the world how wonderful it is to be Jewish. The second, in many ways, is the opposite. After we accept that we are not safe, we have to push it all aside and love being Jewish anyways. I was talking to a mom who is a member of our local Ajax. Ajax is the local parent organization that fights anti-Semitism, mostly in the school district. They've gotten textbooks changed, their meetings with superintendents, the whole shebang. They're doing a great job. And the mom says to me, I was inviting her to a program, and she says, thank you so much. Sometimes I forget to enjoy being Jewish. She spends her waking, non-working hours fighting against anti-Semitism, but she said, I need a moment to love being Jewish. There's a moment in the Fiddler in the Roof play. If you haven't seen it, you 100% should. Basically, Tevye, the main character, his daughter, Tzeitel, is going to marry Muttel. And before the wedding, the local official who Tevye is friends with, the Russian official, comes and says, I can't hold the Cossacks back. I'm going to have to let them do a pogrom. Friends. And do you know what happened? Why this play is so amazing? I'm sorry, it's a rough moment in the play. I agree. What's so amazing is they know the Cossacks are coming. They are told without a doubt, 100% there will be a pogrom, and they have the wedding anyways. They gather together and celebrate new life anyways. The second thing we have to do is let our CSS, let our security guards, let them do what they're doing, and then in this room, forget about it all and just love every moment. Love every screaming kid, love every chance to hug our loved ones, take every opportunity to remember that every life is too short, and we have the chance to celebrate. The third is a balance between the first two. The first is to say we don't feel safe. The second is to celebrate anyways. And the third goes back to Abraham. Tomorrow we'll read the story of Abraham and the binding of Isaac. Abraham is going to be told, take your son, the one you love, Isaac, take him up to the place I will show you and sacrifice him unto me. I guarantee you Abraham did not feel safe in that moment. Exactly. This is getting tough. Exactly. And he did it anyways. At no point does Abraham say, God, I can't do that. At no point does Abraham say, I have to run. Abraham puts one foot in front of the other and marches up that mountain. Only at the last moment does God show Abraham the ram, and a different result occurs. What's truly amazing about this story is that 2 chapters earlier, God comes to Abraham. God comes to Abraham and says, Sodom and Gomorrah is a mess. They're awful. It's full of terrible people. I'm going to wipe them off the face of the earth. And Abraham, who 2 chapters after that is not going to argue with God about the sacrificing of his son, says to God, don't. Says to God, but what if there are some good people? And God says, what are you talking about? Maybe if there are 50 good people. Abraham says, 25, 10. God says, fine. If there's 10 good people, I won't destroy the towns. God looks, doesn't find the 10, But Lot and his 2 daughters get to escape. And I have to imagine that's because Abraham saw the writing on the wall and changed God's very will. The third is a challenge to develop both Abrahams inside ourselves. It's not an accident that the same man at one point faces danger by putting one foot in front of the other and hoping for the best, and in another faces danger, stands up, and changes God's very own will. Inside each of us, we need both of these instincts. We need the chance to challenge, but also the chance to accept. About a month ago, I had a high holiday seminar. About 50 rabbis gathered together from the New York Board of Rabbis. It's fantastic. It's a great chance to learn. 4 or 5 rabbis get up and they share their best stuff, and they don't talk to each other ahead of time, so you have no idea what you're going to get. And I'm sitting there listening and taking notes, and I realized by the 4th one, their words are slightly different, but they have basically the same message. The world feels scary. It feels scarier than last year. It feels worse. But maybe if we come together, we can find a little hope. I wish with all my might that I could tell you the one thing: do this and you will be safe. Do this and you'll be fine. I can't, so I won't. I can tell you that in the face of that dangerous world we live in, we can make ourselves stronger by admitting and seeing the danger and binding together and building ourselves strong. We cannot give in and let that be our whole life. We cannot miss the chance to build our sand castles. We can have great and beautiful moments together, and we can develop the wisdom to know which one is which, when to be strong and when to push it all aside. Because here's the thing, I actually left off the end of my story. I built my sandcastle, my 7 walls. I went back to the spot. It was flat. I went back the next day, and I built an even better sandcastle. Shana Tova.